In a world obsessed with youth, speed, and data, there exists a quiet paradox, a truth hidden within the folds of time and the human brain. The wisdom paradox, written by neuropsychologist Elkhonon Goldberg, takes us on a journey into the heart of that mystery. It challenges what we think we know about aging, intelligence, and wisdom itself. Imagine this. As the body slows down, as neurons fire less rapidly, something profound happens. The mind, paradoxically, becomes sharper in ways that truly matter. This is the essence of Goldberg's idea. Intelligence in youth may rely on quick computation, on processing speed, but wisdom, born of experience, is a deeper, slower intelligence, one that connects patterns, makes meaning, and understands life's complexities. Goldberg introduces us to the two hemispheres of the brain, the left and the right, not as rivals, but as partners in an intricate dance. The left brain, often associated with routine and efficiency, stores what we already know. It thrives on patterns and repetition. The right brain, in contrast, is the explorer. It handles novelty, surprise, and discovery. In youth, the right hemisphere leads, constantly learning and adjusting. But as we age, the left hemisphere gradually takes the reins, drawing on a vast library of experience to make faster, wiser judgments. This is what Goldberg calls the wisdom paradox. As the brain loses raw processing speed with age, it gains in pattern recognition and insight. The older mind doesn't compute faster. It simply doesn't need to. It already knows the shape of things. It sees the world not in fragments, but in wholes. Think about a chess grandmaster. When a young player studies the board, he calculates possibilities, move by move, his mind racing. But the grandmaster, with decades of experience, simply sees the right move. It's almost intuitive, the product of tens of thousands of games played, analyzed, and internalized. This is not instinct, it's crystallized wisdom. And Goldberg shows that this very transformation, from raw intelligence to integrated understanding, is hardwired into the aging brain. But wisdom is not automatic. The brain is like a muscle. It strengthens with use and weakens with neglect. Goldberg warns that if we stop challenging ourselves, if we retreat into comfort and routine, the very circuits that support wisdom begin to fade. The paradox, then, is not guaranteed. It must be cultivated. We must keep feeding the right hemisphere, stay curious, seek novelty, and expose ourselves to new ideas, new skills, new people. This, Goldberg argues, is how we keep the brain alive. Even as memory falters and speed declines, the neural architecture of meaning continues to evolve. Wisdom, in this sense, is a living process, not a possession, but a practice. He also reveals something profoundly hopeful. The human brain is remarkably resilient. Through what neuroscientists call neuroplasticity, it can rewire and adapt even in later life. New neurons may not grow easily, but new connections can form endlessly. Every time we learn something new, every time we reflect, create, or even empathize, our brains physically change. Wisdom is not just a metaphor. It's biological. Goldberg's work stands at the intersection of neuroscience and philosophy. He asks a question that feels deeply relevant today. What does it mean to be truly intelligent in an age of artificial intelligence? Computers can store, process, and recall data faster than any human being, but they cannot feel the texture of experience, the nuance of human story. They cannot weigh ambiguity or perceive meaning. That, Goldberg says, is the domain of wisdom. Wisdom is not about having information. It's about seeing patterns of truth in a sea of noise. It's the ability to balance opposites, to tolerate uncertainty, to understand that not every problem has a perfect answer. In a world of algorithms and acceleration, the slow, reflective mind becomes not obsolete, but essential. Goldberg illustrates this with stories from his own clinical work. He describes patients who have suffered damage to one hemisphere of the brain, revealing how dramatically it affects not just function, but personality and worldview. A person with right brain damage may lose the ability to see context, focusing instead on details, a kind of blindness to meaning. Conversely, left brain damage can lead to confusion and disorganization, an inability to ground perception in logic. Wisdom, therefore, arises when both hemispheres work together, when the brain learns to unite logic and intuition, memory and discovery. The book also touches on cultural wisdom, how societies, like individuals, can grow wiser or more impulsive. When a culture glorifies novelty and speed, it risks losing its deeper patterns of meaning. But when it honors the past too much, it stagnates. The true balance lies in dialogue between generations, between ideas, between the old and the new. Goldberg invites us to see aging not as decline, but as evolution. He reminds us that the mind of an elder can often perceive what a younger one cannot, not through speed, but through synthesis. As he writes, the young brain is a machine, the old brain is a symphony. That symphony is composed of all the experiences, mistakes, and insights gathered across a lifetime. Wisdom is not about knowing more, it's about needing to know less, because you already understand what truly matters. So how do we nurture this kind of wisdom? Goldberg suggests a few quiet but powerful practices. Stay curious. Curiosity keeps the right hemisphere alive. Engage in lifelong learning, not just professionally, but playfully. Read, explore art, travel, learn a new language. Keep your social connections active because relationships stimulate multiple parts of the brain at once. And most importantly, embrace change. The unfamiliar, the challenging, the uncertain, these are the crucibles of wisdom. In the end, the wisdom paradox offers not just a scientific insight, but a spiritual one. It tells us that aging is not an enemy to be feared, but a teacher to be embraced. It teaches that slowing down is not regression, it's refinement. The mind is not fading, it is deepening. And maybe that's the message our world needs most today. We live in a culture that celebrates what is fast, young, and new. But Goldberg reminds us that there is a different kind of brilliance. One that glows rather than flashes, one that sees rather than reacts, one that grows quieter, but infinitely more profound. Wisdom is not a paradox after all. It is the culmination of everything we have ever thought, felt, and lived, converging into clarity. As Goldberg beautifully shows, the older brain is not a dimming candle. It is a steady flame, warmer, steadier, and infinitely wiser. The wisdom paradox is not just about how the brain works. It's about how we live, how we age, and how we come to understand the meaning of life itself. Because in the end, it's not about thinking faster. It's about seeing deeper.